You know that moment. You're at a party, standing next to someone. The conversation just dies, so yeah, I'm gonna grab another drink. You both walk away feeling like you've failed some invisible social test. Here's what nobody tells you. Great conversationalists aren't born charming. They're not the loudest person in the room. Most of them used to be exactly where you are now. The difference, they train this like a skill, not a personality trait, a skill. But first, a quick reality check. Harvard researchers discovered something called the liking gap. After strangers talk, both people consistently underestimate how much the other person liked them. That voice in your head saying they think you're boring, it's wrong. Science says so. We tend to think running out of things to say means we're boring or socially anxious beyond repair. But the root issue is simpler. We're stuck in our own heads. We're trying to be interesting instead of being interested. Once you flip that switch, everything changes. Here's how. First technique, ask questions that have a little weight to them. Not interview questions, not small talk. I call them intentional questions. Let's say someone tells you they just got back from a trip. The default response, "Oh, how was it?" They say, "It was great." End of branch. Instead, try, "What was the most unexpected thing that happened?" Or, if you could relive one moment from that trip, what would it be? Now you've handed them a story to tell. You're not extracting information, you're inviting them to share an experience. Psychologist Arthur Aron found that questions targeting feelings, not facts, are what actually bring people closer. The person asking the most intentional questions is the one steering the conversation. You're not interrogating, you're guiding. Even with strangers, a question like, "What's been the highlight of your week so far?" can turn a dead exchange into a real conversation. You're handing them a key and saying, "Open a deeper door if you want to." Most people do. Technique 2, listen more than you speak, but listen the right way. There's a difference between waiting for your turn to talk and actually listening. When you're just waiting, you miss everything. You miss the small detail that could lead to a much better question. Active listening means you're fully present. You're not mentally rehearsing your next line. Counterintuitively, this makes you a better talker. You're responding to what the person actually said, not what you assumed they'd say. Research from Princeton shows something incredible. When you listen deeply, the brain waves of the listener and the speaker start to synchronize. Real connection has a measurable signal. Your brain and theirs literally get on the same wavelength. Try this exercise. Next time someone talks, respond only with a follow-up question based on their last sentence. Not a statement, just a question. You'll be shocked how much longer they talk, and how much more they enjoy talking to you. Technique 3 is where the connection really locks in. Find common ground. We bond fastest with people who share our interests, experiences, or even frustrations. Psychologists call this the similarity attraction effect. When you discover a shared passion, your brain gets a small hit of dopamine, and so does theirs. That little chemical spark opens the door. Sometimes the common ground is obvious. You both love hiking, but often it's hidden and you have to dig a little. You do that using technique 1 and 2. Ask intentional questions, listen actively. Eventually you'll hit something that makes both of you go, "Oh, me too," or "I totally get that." When that happens, don't just note it and move on. Steer into it. That's your conversation engine right there. Suddenly, the chat moves from effort to ease. It stops feeling like networking and starts feeling like just two humans connecting. Now, let's be real. Even with these tools, you'll still have pauses. Silence isn't your enemy. Here's a fascinating fact. In typical Western conversations, the average gap between speakers is just 200 milliseconds, a fifth of a second. We're practically jumping on each other's sentences. So when a pause stretches to 2 seconds, our brains panic. But in the conversations people rate as most enjoyable, those pauses are often longer. Not because something's wrong, but because someone's thinking. Silence, when you're not afraid of it, telegraphs confidence. The pressure you feel in silence is internal. Learn to sit in it for 2 seconds, nod, smile. Often the other person will pick up the thread themselves. When you stop seeing silence as failure, you stop panicking. And when you stop panicking, you stop saying whatever random thing pops into your head just to fill the air. So the loop is this: ask an intentional question. Listen, really listen to the answer. Spot the thread that could reveal common ground. Follow it, repeat. You're not generating topics from scratch in your brain. You're pulling them from the person in front of you. They give you all the material you need, constantly, when you're paying attention. Here's what this really builds: not just better conversations, but a reputation. You become the person others feel good around, not because you performed perfectly, but because you made them feel heard. Over time, you realize something surprising. The goal was never to be interesting. It was to be genuinely interested. Once that clicks, you can talk to anyone. The awkward version of you at that party, they don't disappear. They just become the one who asks the questions that matter. If this gave you even one new way to approach conversations, try it today. At the store, with a coworker, on a date. Then come back and tell me what happened. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We break down skills like this, not talent, just trainable skills. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.